don't know if that makes any difference.
Do I have to hit go live and go live? Let me see what happens when I hit go live. He didn't tell me this part. Hey, we're there. Okay. I had to hit go live. This is weird. So give us 1 second.
As things are getting pushed through to all the places, and we will get talking on some GABF stuff real soon. I see us up
Yes.
on the Twitter.
Apparently I had to hit the go live buttons. I'm running things. Hit the green go live. Yes, Jeremy, I got that now. All right, we're live everywhere. So give us 2 seconds to share on social medias and all that stuff. We are going to get started in 1 second.
Yep, we're up on the YouTube. Oh. Yes, when Jay's not here, well, I should say not we.
Well,
I
I'm
have nothing to do with it.
learning.
It's all put on
All right,
Matt.
we are
Hey,
live.
I'm
So
not blaming anybody. I don't know any of it.
let's do this thing. So what's up, everybody? Long time no see. It is me, Matt, alongside Lauren, and we are Hops News, a show that talks about beer, beer culture, beer news, what's going on in the latest beer trends, breweries, all of that good stuff. And today, I know it's been a little while. We've had a lot going on, considering, Jay has been wicked busy with New Realm Brewing. He has a lot of really good things going on there. We've been just busy going around all over the place. So, welcome. I'm glad you guys are back. And today we're going to be talking GABF, the Great American Beer Festival, which is just recently wrapped up. And what a weekend it was, man. Seeing everybody's pictures, seeing everything like that. So first things first, let's get some things out of the way. Go ahead, follow us on Hops News on all of your social media sites, all of your podcasting platforms. Go ahead, search Hops News. That's where we're at. We're doing a lot of really great things out there. Second of all, go ahead and if you want to get with our Patreon, patreon.com/hopsnews. So all that aside, I am drinking on this episode a Recursion IPA from Bottle Logic Brewing. You can go ahead and see the pretty cool can there. They're out of Anaheim, California. Wicked good IPA, 6.5% ABV. Really cool. It always says like pairs well with. Well, this one pairs well with grilled pork. So if that's your thing, if not, hey, I don't blame you. I just pair it with whatever I want. Really good color, some good head, all of that good stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren. What are you drinking? How's it going?
It's going good. We should do like an episode of that one day where we actually like pair things properly, because like I've honestly never done that. And when craft beer first started getting taken off, like Funky Buddha was one of the first breweries that went big in Florida, and they would do these dinners where they would pair something with the appetizer and then the main course. Then you would have like
That's some
the
bougie
last snow
stuff.
with dessert. Yeah, and I never got to go to one, and then haven't heard of them doing it in years. I think I was pregnant when it was super popular. But I'm always like, "Oh, we should pair them, have that moment like in Ratatouille where, he mixed this and that and your taste buds
We
explode."
should.
But yeah, that would be a fun thing to do. Mix some cheeses with some beers and all sorts of food. But I am drinking an actually very easy beer to find, not just in Florida, but it is a Florida beer. In fact, it's one of my go-to beers at Disney's Animal Kingdom, but it also just won a medal at GABF.
What?
So it is the Cigar City Maduro Brown Ale.
Oh.
Anybody you talk to that's like tried this, like even though it's pretty widely available, it is, I mean, it's a solid brown
Widely.
ale. So it says, named after a dark cigar wrapper, Maduro Brown Ale boasts notes of semi-sweet chocolate, toffee, and hints of fresh coffee. Complex and full-bodied, our
Ooh,
malt forward ale is brewed with flaked oats to add depth of character.
look at
And yeah, it's a
that.
solid brown ale. I've never really looked at the can, but there's little people rolling cigars on it.
Oh, really?
That's funny. It's very, very light. I've never noticed that. But I got it in my Cigar City Tiku glass. So I think they won bronze. So we'll go over some of those winners in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's what I'm
we got a
thinking.
list of winners, man. What a weekend it was. Like I said, seeing everybody's pictures was wicked cool. Because it's basically a Comic-Con for beer lovers and breweries alike. And I didn't realize, so I guess I'd never really paid attention to pictures and stuff like that. Micah, what's up, baby? Long time no see. Mike has been sending me a lot of cool pictures. Speaking of, shout out to him real quick. He got press passes to the GalaxyCon in Richmond, so that's pretty rad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But the floor and everything is basically a Comic Con. So like at Comic Cons, you have Artist Alley and you have all those booths set up, but then at each booth has something special. So that's basically always that's what GABF is, right? It's just every brewery at their booths, and they give out samples and things like it seems like such a cool thing to do, and I wouldn't hate if like we got to go there one year because that's definitely a goal for this podcast, and we've always talked about it. So one year we're gonna have to make it there, no doubt.
Yeah, no, all the costumes were amazing. I had no clue that was a thing either.
I did see. I
Like, I feel
didn't.
like
They
all
wore
I ever hear
costumes. I didn't
about,
realize that either.
yeah, all I feel like I ever hear about is like the winners and the awards and the all the free
Yeah,
goodies and whatnot that you get.
but people actually cosplay at this thing, which is super cool because cosplaying never used to be like a big thing, and then now everybody's Velma at Comic Cons. So
But I loved it. You saw a bunch of like lederhosen and dirndls, which is
yeah,
perfect for this time of year. But then I saw like random things, too, like people legit wearing actual costumes. So it made me think like, if I went, what would I wear?
I don't
But
know. I'd have to go lederhosen, I guess. But, ma'am, we're on live podcast. Please turn
sorry.
off your alarms. So,
My son has an ear infection again. That's time for amoxicillin.
wow, she goes ahead and just times when her kid's gonna have an ear infection. Convenient, isn't it, folks?
Right, that's exactly what it is. I don't have Munchausen syndrome by proxy at all. I don't know how people have that. When you have
I
sick
don't
kids
either.
and take them to the doctor, it's
It's awful,
miserable.
man.
I know. Ugh. I'm like, I hope we don't see you till May when the
Yeah,
checkups are
no,
again. I
like I
said
don't
that
want to
a
see
month
doctors at
ago.
all. Going to the doctor sucks.
Yeah, whether it's for you or your kids, it's
Yeah.
annoying.
Well, hey,
But
you
let's
want to?
go talk about
Yeah, I was gonna
GABF.
say you want to dive into the little bit of the origins and the histories real quick before we go into some winners and things.
For sure. So this was the 40th anniversary. So of course, go big or go home. But we're going to go into a little bit of the history. So a lot of this was there's actually an article on the Denver Post. So if you want the full article, you can go to the Denver Post. And they interviewed Charlie Papazian, who wrote The Complete Joy of Home Brewing. He started the National Brewers Association, and he got the first GABF off the ground. So this year was the 40th anniversary, like I just mentioned, for the Great American Beer Festival. And to celebrate this, there was actually an 80s themed costume contest and a
Oh,
band playing 80s music. But
Jesse's
before we go
girl.
into the winners, which you just said that, we're going to go back. We have to go back to the beginning.
Oh, to the back, to the back.
We got to go back. In the early 80s, Charlie Papazian was, I'm just going to say Charlie. I've seen his name a million times, but I've never like heard it, so I don't know how to exactly pronounce it cuz he's like one of like the fathers of craft beer. So in the early 80s, Charlie was often invited to judge competitions around the world, and during a trip to England in 1981, he got to judge the Great British Beer Festival, and he was
Ooh.
shocked by the way that people had gathered to celebrate beer and the beer culture around brewing and drinking. So he then wondered if it was possible to do this in the States, a land full of macro light beer. So
Ooh.
Charlie said, this is a quote, the goal was to establish a national event that celebrated American beer culture. That was the essence of what we were trying to do. People kind of scratch their heads and ask the question, well, what do you mean by that? The beer festival really introduced people to the idea that there are a lot of different kinds of beers. There was also notably no internet then, so Charlie had to go through books by beer label and beer can collectors and research which breweries were still in business to actually send them an invite to this event. That sounds terrible. That's like in Supernatural
Yeah,
when they
right.
go to the past and they're like, have there been any electrical storms? They're like, well, we're waiting for the weather company to mail us those.
And then a month
Um,
later, you get it. Like, no kidding.
right. And you're like, well, the demons already killed everybody. Too late. So the first GABF was at Boulder's Millennium Harvest House, and there were 22 breweries and about 750 guests. This past year, which this year was a little bit lower attendance because this was also their first year post COVID,
Oh
and there
yeah,
were
that's
over
right.
500 breweries and 40,000 guests.
Wow.
Yeah. So the first GABF had Coors Brewing, Kugel, Anchor Brewing, Sierra Nevada, which was a microbrewery at the time, and they've actually been to every single GABF ever.
Oh wow.
And there are a few other familiar names, but every brewery was
Boston
asked
Beer
in
Company.
1982 with the first one. They were asked to bring two beers that were not light lagers or something that you would not find on a beer aisle at a grocery store, which I feel like that when we first were getting into beer, we would do beer tastings, and that was like the rule. It was like just something you can't buy at the grocery store. You can't buy it at Publix.
But now it's crazy because you can buy a lot of these things at grocery stores. Like, there's a whole craft
Yeah.
beer section at a lot of them.
So I was at Total Wine today getting our Sip of Sunshine Patreon boxes put together, and I found Aslan. And I
Whoa,
mean,
really?
yeah. So there was quite a few, and I found a beer that Jess just brought. She went to the Aslan Brewery and she just brought it down, and it was a phenomenal beer. But it's insane because like 5 years ago, if I had seen some of these beers there, I would have like you know, flipped out. Okay. So in 1984, Burt Grant of Washington's Yakima Brewing and Malting Company brought an imperial stout, and people were actually lining up to get it. Charlie said it was the first time anybody had experienced a beer like that. It was about 8 to 9% ABV, and it was black as a starless night, and it was very hoppy.
Ooh.
There was no competition at first. It was really like consumer choice awards. Like people on their own would be like, "Oh, this one's my favorite." And Ken Grossman of Sierra Nevada claims that his infamous pale ale was the winner back in the '80s, and I'd be surprised if that wasn't the truth because that beer still holds up today.
Did it first.
Um,
Simpsons did it first.
yeah, hey, he's earned it, man.
I
That
mean,
man
yeah,
not
no
only
kidding.
like built a brewery from like scratch, but like it's still competitive in this day and age. So kudos to him. But this year there were over 9,000 entries to the competitions, and there are 97 different style categories for the
Ooh.
competition portion.
Wow,
We are not going to go over every
97.
single one of
Wow,
those.
97. Good God.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked. Like I thought it was, I didn't think it was going to be that much. I thought it was, I don't know what I thought. But when I got to the list, I was like, oh, we can't go over all these. That would just be like boring.
Yeah, well, that and like I want to find like the obscure ones that I don't know. Maybe another time the obscure ones because that's just crazy.
Yeah. I was actually surprised that, well, we'll get there in a minute. I don't want to jump the gun here. So Charlie has also stated that before this fest, different brewers weren't pouring at the same festivals. Like if you went somewhere and there was a brewery pouring beer, you definitely weren't going to see another one doing that. And he says that GABF made them stop viewing each other as competitors. And if that is correct, then that festival has easily redefined an entire industry, what I think is for the better.
Right.
So that's what I got.
Hmm. Well,
You want to give us some stats?
yeah, let's go into some stats. We love stats. So, fun thing, this was actually the 36th edition of the GABF competition. Uh, there were 9,904 beers judged, which is an insane. Could you imagine drinking 9,900 beers? Like,
No. I
first and
hope different judges
foremost,
are doing it.
yeah, like that's insane. Second of all, like, sign me up, I guess, but that would be insane. I can't even imagine. So, aside from that, there were 177 beer styles. 2,154 breweries entered the competition. They were from all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, which is pretty cool to see. So 52 technically different locations. There were 235 judges to taste all 9,904 beers. How do you think they
Well, I
split
don't.
those up?
I was gonna say I don't think one judge is like I gotta taste all
One
of
judge is
these.
like, all right, I got 1 through 50. And then do you think they did volunteer some? So there were 310 volunteers. How many of them judged beers too?
Oh my god,
How
I
many
can't even
judges were found
imagine.
in trash cans behind, just face first in these trash cans?
I bet they probably only like swallow like 2 sips
Oh, they
and
probably
spit. They
like,
probably
yeah,
do like have a spit bucket.
they're yeah, I guarantee you that's probably how they do it. I don't know. Me, I wouldn't judge correctly just because I'd be like, I'm gonna drink this one, and then like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm judging beers. Whoops. But the average number of
That's why you'll never be asked to be a
that's why
judge.
they'll never be like, hey, you from Hops News, do you want to come be a judge? I'll be like, you haven't listened to the show, have you? So the average number of competition beers that were entered in each category, 99. 99 red balloons, or in this case, beers. Category with the highest number of entries was
It's
actually
like
the
beers on the wall.
yeah, 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Category with the highest number of entries. What do you think this was? Okay, well, you already looked
I
and you
think
wrote the
everybody
notes.
knows.
So it was actually the American style India Pale Ale with 423 entries. Gosh, do you guys have anything besides IPAs?
Well, and then the second one, I'll go ahead and jump to the next. So there was a Thrillist did an article on it too with some of the trends
Shout
this
out to our
year.
boy Dustin Nelson.
And second was juicy hazy
Juicy.
IPAs. Juicy. That's what I should call them. Just
Juicy.
combine it.
Wish
Juicy.
you were Juicy's
With
girl.
375 entries, and then German style pilsners were at 233. And one of the things that Thrillist commented on, they had an article on all like the trends that they
Yeah,
saw this year and whatnot. If anybody's interested in more of that, is they said that German style beers are making a comeback. So I'm all for that,
I
and
believe that
I can see
actually.
that. Right, with it, everybody going from like, oh, we're drinking Bud Light and then we're drinking craft lagers, and then it's like, that's come all the way back to lagers, and who makes the best lagers? Who makes the
Yeah.
best beer
Well,
that tastes like beer is
it all
I hate
comes
saying
back
that
full
because
circle, right?
Yeah, because like
But
sours are beers, and or fruited sours are still beers, but it's like you know what I mean.
I do wonder. I'm curious to know, like, how do you palate cleanse at something like this? Because after a while, they all kind of taste the same in a certain regard, or
You
maybe
make those
again,
pretzel necklaces.
yeah, again, this is why I'm not a judge because maybe they don't all taste the same. Like I'm sitting here spouting, but you got to imagine like, if you're drinking and tasting that many beers, it's you got to have a little break in between. Or I wonder if these judges are like, I'm done drinking beer for a little bit after this.
Yeah, I'm sure they space it out too so their palates don't get wrecked. But I do wonder, is it like, okay, you have two here, okay, which one's better? Do you literally, because I know they rank one, and next week we're actually going
Yeah.
to be ranking some older kind of style craft beers for the Beer in Front podcast. So we're going to do that live, and we'll actually go over the beer judge certification things with the
Yes.
mouthfeel and the aroma and all that. But I mean, they must do it like, if you're diving, okay, that's a 9.5. And then this one was an 8.5, which is essentially what we're doing for Beer in Front. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
we no big deal. I guess
Need to
we
find a
are.
judge.
Somebody did
Get them
ask us
on.
to be beer judges. We're amateur beer judges. Yes.
There you
Surprise.
go.
Next week's show is
I don't think he has high
actually
expectations for our reviews, though.
well, I mean, we're going to be judging beers like Miller Lite or some shit at one point. So really, not really, but there are some craft beers in there. Some ones I couldn't get my hands on. New Glarus. I'm looking at you, baby girl. But
Well, I got you a Rasputin, a
yeah,
Lenkenkugel. I can't believe you haven't heard of North Coast Old Rasputin.
nope.
It's it's not the brewery's not too far from you. Is it North California or Southern Oregon? I never remember, but I did it on
Either
that
way,
trip.
you really
Oh, it's
don't get.
California.
Okay, yeah, you don't get a lot
It's
of
North
these things.
California. They have the big sperm whale on their logo. I feel like if you saw that brewery, you would know what it is. It's in like where that Glass Beach is.
Glass
If only
Beach.
I had something I could Google to
Glass
pull up this
Beach. I don't
information.
even know what you're talking about right now. But anyways,
All
all
right.
right.
Keep going
So
on your stats and I'm going to pull it
there
up.
were 300 total medals awarded, including 3 Pro-Am and 3 collaboration medals. 268 medal-winning breweries overall. 301 first-time GABF entrants. I think that's a pretty big stat there because we've seen a lot of negativity kind of in the beer scene with a lot of breweries coming. I've seen a lot of breweries change ownership hands, a lot of breweries kind of close, and it sucks. It's an unfortunate way of the business because people are like, oh, craft beer is dying, and that may be true, maybe, but I think what we're seeing is there was such a high steady climb that what we're seeing is just a plateau for now. So to see 301 first time GABF entrants is pretty cool. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are actually 18 first time GABF winners. So some first time winners out there, which again, I'd love to see. And then you've already talked about the categories. Okay, I've seen that. I just don't know. It's got to be North Oregon.
It's Fort Bragg, California. You should know Fort
Oh,
Bragg.
well, yeah, that's in North Carolina, though.
Oh, it's also in California.
Okay, well, yeah, the stats you already kind of gave us, though, were there were 453 American IPA entries, juicy, hazy IPAs are 375, German style Pilsners 233. So that was pretty cool.
That
Now,
was pretty cool.
we're not going to go over every winner because, quite frankly, who has the time, patience, who wants to listen to that, right? Not us, not you.
And that is an
And
easy Google. If you just Google the GABF winners for 2022, you get the link. I could drop it in the
right,
YouTube
yeah,
and the Facebook. If anybody's
yeah.
interested in that, I can do that.
So we can go ahead and do that. Micah, I would like to be an amateur beer judge as well. So, I mean, we're doing it next week. No big deal, I guess.
No big deal.
But no, dude, maybe we should have Micah come on sometime and we can sit here and all go through some things like that. Who knows? That'd be fun. So, anyways, let's get to the breweries that we each have kind of been to. We've had some of these winners. There's not a ton, of course, because there's like 300 and something, but there are a decent amount. There were some pleasant surprises that I saw in there, which is always nice. And so, starting with me, because I'm talking already, I'm gonna go with the Low Funk One Bras, and Low Funk was actually in the Mobcraft Advent Calendar last year, and yeah, that we've
Oh,
had that
that's
beer.
right.
It's pretty decent. They won bronze. Shout out to Mobcraft; they're doing a lot of really good things. They are expanding. One of which their locations was actually in Denver. Who Henry, friend of the show, invited us to do a live recording there if we were going to GBF. So maybe next year, folks. Never say never.
That sour is really good. It was like
It was.
so it won in the it got a bronze for the American Sour Ale. And like I had actually found it at our Total Wine like right after we had them on the podcast, so of course I grabbed it.
Right.
And it gave me like, and I remember telling him like it gave me Hill Farmstead vibes, and he was like, "Oh, wow, thank you." But it had that farmhouse style sour, which I actually really like the farmhouse style sours. I think they're really yummy.
A farmhouse anything, honest to God, is one of like the most underrated beer styles because they get that really good like yeasty flavor smell to it, but something about it is just it's really delicious. And I really fully feel as though farmhouse and black style anything are two severely underrated styles of
Like a
beers.
black IPA.
Yeah. Oh god, I love black IPAs. So the next one.
Oh, here's a spoiler. I got one for the Patreon box. It's a local one.
Yeah. Woo! Shout out to Stacy. She might
Called
be getting
Liquid.
us black lager as well, so that'd be pretty rad. Anyways,
I love black lagers.
Allagash, their white, won gold medal in the German wit beer category. So they again friends of the show. They've come on before. They're out of Portland, Maine. Shout out to them because I love Portland, Maine, and everybody knows, of course. I've actually had this next brewery too, Silver City Brewery out of Washington. We get some of their beers here. I haven't tried the Foxy Lady, which won silver in the Belgian style, but I do get some of their beers here, which is pretty rad as well.
See, I
Uh,
hadn't even heard of them.
yeah, they're big out here. I get some of their stuff in the store, so they're a good brewery. They look like a good vibe as well. This next brewery you should have heard of, Left Hand Brewing Company, out of
Oh, of
Colorado.
course.
So
I mean, that was like a first like milk stout I think a lot of people fell in love
well, their
with.
milk stout actually won. So the milk stout won. I don't see it off the top of my head. I forgot to write down what it was, but the milk stout actually won, and so did a couple of their other beers. So they're a repeat winner on this. So shout out to them. I mean, they're doing a lot of really good things. Next, we have Spear Gun Coffee Stout from Snake River Brewing out of Jackson, Wyoming, which
Love a
snuck
coffee
onto
stout.
this list. I love coffee and beer, periods. Just coffee and beer go really well together, in my opinion. And they won
Mm-hmm.
silver, or yes, bronze. I'm sorry, they won bronze for coffee stout or porter. Their category sponsor was Chart Industries. So they ended up winning. Of course, we got to shout this brewery out, right? New Realm Brewing Company. They won gold for their
They won a
blackberry
couple.
smoke. Yeah, they won a couple. One of them was their blackberry smoke lager. And shout out to them because our very own J Brew, well, he works for them. So pretty rad. Shout out to Jay. Maybe he can get us some of that good gold winning beer. Who knows?
So smoke lager, like a Rauk beer.
Yeah, I think so. Ugh,
So we had one of those in Utah.
Salt Lake. We
Yeah.
did. And speaking of Salt Lake City,
Yes. The brewery we had
bronze.
it at.
Yes. No. We didn't have it
Okay,
at
that's
this one.
coming up.
Oh, I didn't see that one. So I'm glad you caught that because I must have missed them.
It was a
Well,
collaboration winner, bronze for
yes.
Guns Out for Grain with Templin Family and Shades. So
Yes.
two
Oh, okay.
breweries we hit up together last weekend at Salt Lake
Yes. I'm
Comic
glad
Con.
you caught that because I missed that one. So there we go.
It
There's
was
the
at the
one.
very, very bottom in a different section.
Well, the Ginger Goza won bronze, and this is from Red Rock Brewing out of Salt Lake City. They're kind of like a bigger brewery, so I've been there. Not bad. Deschutes won bronze for their Otter Encounter. They're out of Bend, Oregon. You get their beers
Ooh, their
pretty,
juice or fresh
yeah.
squeezed is so good.
You get their
That's
beer distributed pretty widely, actually, out here at least.
No, we get them all the way in Florida. So
Well,
I
yeah,
was
see,
at the brewery in 2018. I visited the brewery for the first time, and I actually brought some of their fresh squeezed home.
oh,
And like I swear, like a month or two later, all of a sudden we're getting it at Total Wine.
that's
So
hilarious. Um, Boston Beer Company, of course, their Vacation Sam Pina Colada IPA and one of their hazy IPAs won. They're out of Boston, of course, the Boston Beer
I
Company. I want to shout out this brewery,
haven't heard of them.
Mad Pecker. They're out of San
Mad
Antonio.
Pecker.
Yeah, so I've had their beer when I was down in San Antonio. I forgot to put on my list, but Bitter Soul won silver in the extra
Mm.
special bitter. They're out of San Antonio. There's a few San Antonios. Cisco Brewers for their Whale's Tail Pale Ale. So this brewery, funny enough, is right outside of the Pease base that I was stationed at. It's literally right outside the gate. So we used to go to this
That's cool.
brewery. They used to be before they became Cisco. They were, oh my god, I just blanked on the name. They were very big distribution. Oh man, I'll look it up and get
Womp
back.
womp.
They were very big. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the name. Anyways, moving on. Revision Brewing Company out of Nevada. We get their beer here too. The Coconut Pie Face, 1 gold for field beer. That's a really, really great place. Sierra Nevada's on here, of course, for Sunny Little Thing, winning bronze in the fruit wheat beer. Shout out to them. Russian River Brewing is on here for Instinction. I said I was
I
getting
love that they
filler.
were on there for something that's not like Pliny or Blind Pig, because I feel like
Yes.
so many people like forget that they do other beers. It's like they're just known
Yes.
for those IPAs. But if you ever go, I mean, I think it's required. It's not required, but it should be required when you go there. You have to get the giant flight. Like they have like the biggest flight I've ever gotten. But I mean,
Yeah, well,
they
yeah,
do a
because
bunch
you
of
can try a
sours.
flight of each of their beer or something.
Yeah, because when we were there, my husband's like, "Oh, like you're good. Are we cashing out?" I'm like, "No, now I have to have a full pint of
Try them
Pliny. I have
all.
to have a full pint of Blind Pig." I mean, you
um,
can't leave there without having a full pint of both
no.
of those, but you also have to get the
And then you're
taster as
just
well. So
toasted after.
no, it's all right. We ate first. They have food.
Um, this
But yeah,
brewery.
it's nice to see those kind of breweries getting recognized for the beers that aren't their
Well, yeah,
flagships.
because that's what they're known for, and everybody just knows them for that. So when they're getting recognized for something else, that's good to see. Um, Waltham, Massachusetts, town right next to mine. My friend actually worked at this brewery, Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company, won gold for their Oktoberfest. This brewery is
Ooh.
amazing. They make a cloud candy, and now they make what's double cloud candy, which is a double IPA. And I haven't tried that. My dad's been sending me pictures, but if he's listening, send me that shit, son, because I really want to get
I
my
want a
hands on that.
gold Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So from there, Ghostfish Brewing out of Seattle. They get their
Ooh.
beers here, and they're actually no, they're like one of the very few gluten-free breweries. Like they're strictly gluten-free, and that's
Ah.
what they won in this category. The Ghostfish Hibiscus Cranberry Goza. They won for gluten-free beer, and
Hmm.
it's good and
That's
it's
got to
really
be hard
cool.
to make a good gluten-free beer.
Oh yeah,
Tracy sent me some of their beer from her road trip.
yeah. I mean they're
They're
not
pretty
bad.
good. She sent
They're
me a
all gluten-free.
pumpkin. The pumpkin was solid.
Oh, of course, didn't you Tracy send a pumpkin? Great Notion Brewing won out of Portland for their Fenix. We've had them, and actually a former guest, and so I need to
What
shout
was the
this
beer style they had? Because
um
like I feel like they're very well known for IPAs
historical
and
beer.
sours.
It was in the
Oh,
historical beer category, yeah.
that's cool. Huh.
And where was I just at? I lost Mother Earth Brewing Company out of Boise, Idaho. Their brewery, like they
What?
have a really great tap room. And this beer that they won, it's a Hop Diggity, 1 silver, and their
Hop
Imperial
take.
IPA was the category. And this brewery's great. Their tap room is fantastic. They're in a really good location. They're right on the edge of like downtown small, and they're on the
Hmm.
edge of it. They have a great patio space, a lot of games, big like TVs, but they're in walking distance of the stadium, so you can like go to this brewery and then walk over to Boise State Stadium, and
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
yeah. So they're in a great location. Really great brewery. Freetail Brewing out of San Antonio won for their Bowie Bach in the International Dark Lager. Went there, really good. And then this gold this gold winner right here for all right from Roadmap Brewing. This brewery is
Oh, how
great.
funny.
Yeah,
It's Matthew McConaughey on their label, I hope.
this beer is good actually. I had it when I went to this brewery in the spring. We did trivia there, and they won for international style pilsner. Roadmap, if you're in San Antonio and you only have time for one or two, hit up Weathered Souls and then get to this Roadmap brewery. It's amazing. Really great brewery in there. And I see Templin Family won for their Granary Keller beer. I think I said that right. I don't know. I'm illiterate,
They
so
won for a few, and I was happy to see them because when we visited that
right.
brewery, like, I mean, we really only, or I mainly only had one, maybe two at each brewery, but like the one beer the guy suggested was delicious. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Great brewery. And then the last one I just have is I just have yeah, I see my wife was in there
Bohesian.
saying Red Roof. It's Red Rock, Carrie. We already went over this. And then Elysian, their Night Owl, which is a pretty good beer. They do
So
the
I was,
packs of pumpkins and they have different
yeah,
ones.
I was surprised to see because I thought that you had to be like a craft beer to enter it, but I guess not because they're owned by
Well,
InBev.
I was gonna say because you have Boston beer entering, which
But
I guess
Boston
is
beer is still
they are. You're
considered
right. They're
independent.
considered independent.
But also, I don't know if Cigar City is still independent. There's no upside down can or bottle on
Uh
this
oh.
can, and they won.
Oh God, we're
But
being
So some of
infiltrated.
my shout outs, I saw Creature Comforts on there. I still haven't had their beer, but they're in Athens, Georgia. And the only reason they get a shout out is because they are the Avengers brewery. They are the brewery whose
Oh
beer made an
yeah,
appearance in Endgame. They got a gold in their
you're an
Pilsner
Avenger.
category for their classic city lager. But yeah, their sour and their Tropicalia IPA, both of those made appearances in Thor's hands or sitting in front of Thor. Thor was drinking them. And Creature Comfort saved the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Thor only got on the ship because Rocket said there was beer on the ship, and Thor said what kind, and then he's drinking a Creature Comforts Tropicalia IPA. I know I've told this story before, but I just think it's really
Well, it's
funny
worth
and awesome.
repeating.
Thank you.
I
Uh,
enjoyed it.
so the next one, which was funny enough, last Thursday before GABF, I was over at Ian's house and we were drinking beers. We were drinking Deadwards, and we both said, "I bet they're going to come home with a medal from GABF because we love their beer. They're a fairly new brewery. I don't even
Oh
think
yeah,
they've been
you were
around a
saying that's the
year."
new popular brewery there, right?
Yeah, so they're just outside of downtown, kind of close to Broken Strings, and they have some delicious food. They got pizzas and charcuterie boards and stuff. And what they do is they make very
Charcuterie
classic
season.
styles, and they also make it's always charcuterie season.
It's true.
And they make new school beers as well. So you can get a hazy IPA and you can get a classic Doppelbock or something. And they're the ones that have the clay fermenter pot. And so they said they're only one of 13 breweries in the country that have the clay fermenter pot. And they made the Sati beer, which is like a Scandinavian type beer. I think it's from Finland. I always forget which country. But I haven't had even a mediocre beer from theirs. Like Ian got a crowler of Hefeweizen, which isn't either of our go-to style, and we both loved it. It was just it was very like banana kind of forward because you get the
Okay.
banana and cloves in those
Yeah.
style beers, but it was just done so smooth. And like, I don't not like them. They're just never my go-to. But it was
No, I
phenomenal.
mean,
So
no,
they
I
won.
agree with you. Hefeweizens are the one that they're like old reliable, right? When in doubt, there's nothing else that you see on that menu. Hey, I'm gonna get a Hefeweizen because especially when it's hot outside, it's crisp and refreshing.
Yeah, and it's light.
Yeah.
But so Deadwords won a gold for their bridge, which was an American style lager. So kudos to them. They came
Okay,
home with
we
a
see
freaking
you.
gold.
Gold medal, baby.
Yeah. Well, their head brewer, we were talking to him at the beer fest, and I forget where he said he's like worked like in the Northeast, I believe, and was name dropping some pretty good breweries that he was working at before there. So, and the brewery is gorgeous. It was like the first time we went, we're like, wow, somebody put some money into this. So, absolute must stop if you're in Orlando. And I always rave Tactical, so Deadwards and Tactical. Bottle Logic got a gold for their Flesh to Stone. I think you
Yeah,
mentioned
I
that
did.
one, or you're
No,
drinking Bottle
I'm
Logic.
drinking Bottle Logic.
That's what you
See,
said.
apparently I can't read too well or good because I missed a lot of those breweries somehow. Maybe I just didn't go to
There
the.
was a ton. There was a long list, yeah. But obviously, they're in Anaheim. If you ever visit Disneyland, Bottle Logic would be
It's
the
like two
brewery I would
mile.
tell you to go
It's a little
visit.
more than 2 miles,
Yeah.
but it's a 5 to 10. Oh, I see. You know what's funny is I just went over there. They won Flesh to Stone, so I see them on here this list now.
So we got another Orlando brewery, which I was not surprised to see their beer is good, but they're also another fairly new Orlando brewery called Gatlin Hall.
Oh yeah,
We
yeah. I
had
remember you telling me about them too.
Yeah, so we had Jamal on our Hops Geek podcast recently,
Yeah.
and he's actually brewed quite a few beers with them. So, but yeah, they got a bronze for Lore, which is their Vienna style lager. So I'm really glad to see all these Florida breweries making it because I feel like I'm doing it less, but usually when I travel, I feel like I'm defending Florida beer a little bit. People just are like, they hear Florida and they think Florida man, they don't think beer. But then when
Right.
I start naming like Angry Chair, Hunapoo from Cigar City, people are like, oh yeah, all right, you guys do have some good beer. Odd Breed Wild Ales is in Pompano Beach. I haven't gone there yet. It's on my to-do list, but I've had a lot of people recommend it. They're a sour brewery called Wild Ales, and they won a bronze for their wood and barrel aged sour. So Pompano Beach, if you're not familiar with it, it's very close to Funky Buddha. It's in the Fort Lauderdale area. Figaro Mountain Brewing. I got to visit this up in California, and I loved their beers. It's one of their breweries is near the Solvang area, which is like Little Denmark,
Right.
and they had like some Danish themed beers, and like Danish beer is good. You got Mickler.
Yeah.
I mean, so Pizza Port was Figaro won for their smoke beer. So
Oh,
that's
I
and it's
love
called
smoked beers.
No, this is the Rauch beer
Oh,
because
got you,
it's
got you.
definitely a Rauch beer, Rauch beer, Rauch beer. They got a bronze for it, and it's called Dreaming of Bamberg, and Bamberg is where the Rauch beer originated. So it's got to not be a
Oh,
smoky beer; it must be smoke beer. If that makes sense. There is a difference.
yeah.
Like when I used to think smoky, it was like literally like a smoky stout or something, but a Rauch beer is a very different flavor. So we go down a rabbit hole in that, but I'm not doing that right
All
now.
day.
Pizza Port, fantastic brewery out of San Diego. There's one right near the beach. They got a silver for their session beer. It says session beer or Belgium style table beer. I guess that's another name for session beers, the
I
table
guess
beers. Oh,
so.
I like
I've
that.
never heard of that really, or maybe I have in passing. I just never paid attention.
Shout out to another Florida beer, Tampa Bay Brewing Company, which one of their beers will
Yeah,
be in
they're
our
pretty
next
good.
Patreon box. Yeah, their Old Elephant IPA is one of my go tos when I'm out and about because it's easy to grab. They got a bronze for their Day Donkey, which is a hot dog. Athletic got a silver
Yeah,
for the
shout out to
non-alcoholic
them.
category. Anybody who wants to drink good beer and is driving or doesn't want to drink,
Or just yeah,
Athletic is your go-to.
a hundred.
Lazarus in Austin is a fantastic brewery, and they had the best food truck I've ever had. They have ciders and all sorts of different styles. They got gold for their Black Pearl, and it's an herb and spice beer, which, oh, that sounds
Ooh, the
amazing.
curse of the black pearl.
Sierra Nevada got a bronze for their Sunny Little Thing, which is their fruit wheat beer. So look at them. Their 40th year, and they're still getting medals.
They're still crushing it out there. They are old reliable as well as far as breweries go. Like if you go to the grocery store and you see nothing else, get Sierra Nevada. It's wicked good.
Mm-hmm. It's not Christmas until you've had a Sierra Nevada celebration.
True. I don't even get that here, so
Oh, seriously?
I get their
Damn.
flagship IPA. That's about it.
The Torpedo, their pale
Yeah,
ale?
the torpedo is about all I get. I blanked on the name, of course, because I'm a fraud. But
Because you're a fraud. Swamphead is in Gainesville, and
oh,
I'm
you've
going to get
mentioned them
shit for any
before, I
Gator
think.
fans. Oh, actually, I grabbed one of their beers. You've had one of their beers. I sent you the pumpkin
Maybe that's
spice
what it
latte.
was. Oh fuck, I love. That's probably
So
what it
they're in.
was.
I didn't even think. Look at all
I just
these
want to make sweet,
meddling.
passionate love to pumpkin spice beers this time of year.
I mean, yeah, you do you. They got a gold for Tropical Vibes, which is a fruit wheat beer. Pint House in Austin, Texas. This was my favorite brewery when I visited Austin, other than family business, of course, for different reasons.
I didn't see
Pint
that
House
one.
had, I got a freaking flight of IPAs and they were all phenomenal. But they got a bronze for their fresh hop training binds, which was a fresh hopped beer.
Ooh, a fresh
So
hopped.
that's awesome.
That's the festival I'm going to this weekend. Fresh hopped.
Yeah.
It's
One
got
day,
like
Florida might
hundreds
have
of
that.
breweries that are all fresh hop. Or you guys can just hop on a quick plane ride, be here for Saturday, and because this might be the last one that I get to go to here. Who knows?
Sounds like a plan. Next beer I have listed is one I already discussed, Maduro Brown Ale from Cigar City. Fantastic go-to brown ale. Um, and my last, no, yeah. Shout out to Jester King. They got a bronze for their Belgian
I
fruit
didn't
beer.
see Live Oak on
Uh,
here. I'm surprised. Sorry. Like you said,
well,
Jester
you didn't see
King and
Live Oak. Yeah, Meanwhile Brewing as actually the one I went to because we ran out of time to go to Live
oh
Oak.
yeah.
And we went to Meanwhile. They got a silver for their Secret Beach American style strong pale ale.
Hmm.
Not all the breweries go. Like,
That's
were they
also
even
true.
there?
I don't know honestly. I couldn't tell you all who was there or not.
Because yeah, a lot of I was reading an article about that too, where a lot of the breweries, I I actually have the link here. Porch Drinking did a whole article on the downside and high cost of the Great American Beer
Yeah, that makes
Festival.
sense. It's probably
I
just too
mean,
expensive for breweries to go.
yeah, I mean it's expensive to go as a guest, but then to have to ship your beer out there and take time off
Yeah.
work, and if you have it's all yeah. So, but some breweries say if you get a medal, then it is worth it, but you're not obviously guaranteed a medal. But anyways, next week we'll be judging beers.
Yeah,
Shall
we're
we
gonna be
go into
Judgy
some?
McJudgerson next week.
I know. One of the beers listed as like a PBR.
I was
It
gonna
is
say
very
we're gonna drink like a PBR, and be like, oh, this PBR is a little crisp, but
the mouthfeel is there
it
is none.
just doesn't feel right on my mouth.
0.75. I mean, PBRs aren't the worst. I would rate it
They
higher
really
than
aren't.
that.
They're really not.
No.
We're bougie ass. So
Well, yeah, he's doing a lot of like the older school stuff. So there's going to be Fat Tire, which is, Jay's favorite beer from New Belgium.
yeah.
I'm kidding. He does not like that beer. Sierra Nevada Torpedo Pale Ale is one. Lichen
Yep.
Kugels is one. Budweiser. There was a Russian River one on there, but it was not Pliny or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, and Allagash White, which just won a medal.
Yes. Man, Allagash is dope.
I thought I had one of those in my fridge and I couldn't find it.
Well, you get them pretty much everywhere out there. Oh, God, man, I can't wait to. I need to move back east, particularly northeast. So I just had a. I saw a tree that was changing colors. You said Allagash. It just the jumble of things made me have a PTSD moment. Okay.
Okay, it happens.
What?
Pubs in Ontario are serving a healthy form of non alcoholic beer to dogs. It's called Fetch. Fetch contains water, beef, pork, carrot, apple, natural flavors, and spices, with all fruit and veggies included in the recipe supplied by a local farm, which would otherwise have been thrown out
This
due to
reminds.
surplus
This
and
reminds
wonky
me.
produce.
I thought you were going with the Bush beer, which isn't a beer.
No.
So funny
I started
enough,
reading it and I was like, oh, wait.
Bush is
Matt
actually
did this.
also doing a beer for dogs. It's going to be turkey flavored, non-alcoholic. I am 99% sure because you just can't feed alcohol to animals. And yeah, so
Yeah.
they're making a beer for dogs, which is going to be turkey flavored for Thanksgiving. So look for that. I kind of want to buy some if I see it for my dogs, just to. Hey, I'm gonna crack open a couple cold ones with old Hank here because I'm an old man. I got a dog named Hank, and we're gonna go to town, brother.
Right. I really, really feel like it's just so you could say, like, my
You and
dog's
the
drinking
yeah, you and
beer
the
or
dog are just
something.
sitting there on the porch drinking beer. Is that not
Yeah.
old old man goals or old woman goals?
Old people goals. Whoop, we did that. No, I just like zoomed down and I was like, let me pick a random piece of beer news.
Well,
So here's an interesting one. It says, despite the rising cost of beer, which obviously with, carbon dioxide shortages and aluminum shortages and inflation, it's not cheap to make beer. So despite the rising costs and shortages, there are still predictions that craft beer is to increase from 2022 2024. So that's good. The growth momentum is expected to accelerate at a CAGR, I don't know what that is, of 12.6% during the
I
forecasted
don't either. I'm
period.
not a financial person.
It expects North America to emerge as the major market for craft beer.
Ooh, look
That
at
sounds
that.
right.
That sounds well. Yeah, I feel like that sounds about right. Well, I got
Um.
some downer news.
Oh. Oh. All right.
We're going from openings to Dogfish in Miami will be closing as of November 5th. They posted on their social medias and their lease is coming to an end, and the rent increases in Miami are just getting too high. We kind of saw that this week too. New Realms location in Savannah, Georgia also closed. Unexpectedly, they just decided to close their doors. And so with the expansions, right? It's expensive to brew beer, rising rent costs and labor costs and everything just costs a lot. So you're going to see a lot of these breweries that have multiple locations kind of start to close, and even Dogfish isn't safe.
Well, what's interesting is like I got to visit Dogfish a few months ago, and they took over Concrete Beach Brewing, which was owned by Sam Adams, so it kind of made sense. But they said like the brewery didn't produce all that or make all that much,
Oh, weird.
uh, but it was a really good setup. It was a beautiful setup. They had great food. They had beers that they were only brewing on site. You can walk there from J. Wakefield. It's literally around the corner from
Yeah.
Winwood Brewing. But it does seem, at least their tasting room is much bigger than those other two breweries. So
Right.
that specific spot must just be very expensive. But no, I was kind of disappointed to see that because like I know I'm not supposed to say that because like both my parents are going to yell at me
It's okay. They're not listening
because
right now.
they had a thing with Florida Keys Brewing over there, Hogfish Amber. But I really liked the brewery and they did a free tour and I took the tour and it was fun. So it is kind of disappointing. But honestly, your best spot to go when you're in that area anyways is just stay at J. Wakefield. Just don't
No
leave.
kidding. For the art alone.
I literally was
If
there.
you
I
don't
read
even
a
drink,
book at
just
the
go
bar.
there. Yeah, go there and just admire the art. If nothing
Yes.
else.
If you like, superheroes or Star Wars or both, that and good beer, every beer they have is good. Their tanks in the back are named after planets from Star
Yeah.
Wars. I mean, they have a table with Han Solo and Carbonite. Yeah. All right. So there's a new beer book called The Book of Hops. It's a craft beer lover's guide to hoppiness. And it
Ooh.
is written by craft beer aficionado Dan D. Sorbo. And it profiles 50 of the most sought after hops from around the world, complete with intricate photography by Eric Christensen, notes on taste, composition, use, and origins, plus examples of the wonderful beers that showcase them. I want that book.
Yeah, I do too. We mentioned previously that Oklahoma State University has teamed up with Iron Monk as their official beer. However, the university is also going to be doing some hop research, and they're going to grow some hops for the brewery, which they will make a batch of beer with. And the university is going to do a lot more research and hoping to be a legit producer of hops. So I know certain colleges kind of have like an undergraduate degree for brewing, and it looks like Oklahoma State's actually going to really be doing some scientific research, how to, the hops and all that kind of stuff, which is, in my opinion, pretty progressive as far as a university goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it makes complete sense.
Oh
College is
yeah.
supposed to be training you for a future job. If you're in the Metro Vancouver area, there is a Halloween themed beer festival coming October
What?
29th.
I gotta go
I
to.
know, right?
I can't go to Las Vegas in October 29th. I gotta go to Vancouver.
I mean, could you imagine? That just sounds magical.
That sounds awesome. Well, how about if you live in the Tampa Bay area? You can actually download a Bay Craft Pass for free. So, what this does is guests will be able to virtually check in and log visits to different locations. And guests would essentially visit each brewery as they would any other establishment. However, if you visit enough locations, you can redeem prizes from the Unlock Tampa Bay Visitor Center in downtown Tampa. Prizes include a Tampa Bay crafted pint glass, a Bay crafted t-shirt, and a Tampa Bay cocktail guide. I mean, that's incentive
Ooh.
enough for me right there. I would go if there's prizes involved. I am so petty when it gets to like competitiveness that I would just do it for just to say I did it, I guess, but I got nothing more to that.
Well, Orlando has the Orlando Ale Trail, but it's like you have to hit up all the breweries and then you get a free growler and $1 off the fill. So you get the actual
That's
growler and it says
awesome.
Central Florida Ale
Yeah.
Trail. Yeah, it is awesome. And like, it got us, we finally went to these breweries that distribute, but we're like an hour away. But every time a new brewery opens, they add it to the list. So it's like a lot of breweries you got to hit up. So
Right.
it's targeting locals, not necessarily
You know,
tourists, which targeting tourists is actually genius. Cause when I went to Vermont, they did something like that and I like mailed it in and they sent me a keychain and stickers. Is there a game you're watching? You just made a face.
yes, I have the Bears Commanders Thursday night football game on, and there was a very bad play going on. Never mind me. Don't mind me.
Dub
What
Bears.
I was going to
So I think
say,
that's really cool.
I was
You were
going to
going to
add on
what?
to this is I actually don't see there's how there's like beer trail maps or whiskey or whatever the
Oh, Austin
local.
had one too.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Boise one. I kind of want to see about leaving my mark on the Idaho beer scene before I move in a year. I kind of want to put one together and get with local breweries on behalf of the podcast, maybe. And
Reach out to the Brewers Association.
well, yeah, I kind
They
of
do
want to.
those free glasses. Like
Well,
that's
the Idaho
amazing.
Brewers United, they do that,
Yeah.
during Idaho Beer Month, but I haven't seen them do a map. So I want to reach out and be like, we got to do like an Idaho brewery trail and create something. So if you do complete them all, you get something or, something along those
Yeah.
lines, basically. So I think that'd be pretty cool.
There was one in Austin. I did buy it. I think the book was like $5, but then it's like at this brewery you get $1 off a draft.
Well, yeah,
At
that's
this
what I'm saying.
brewery,
Like you,
and you get them stamped. So, but yeah, I thought that was smart because it was incentive for tourists and locals because the more stamps you get.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel like Orlando should do something,
Ooh, let me
especially
take the Smut Labs
Orlando. We get a
news.
lot of tourists.
Let me take that Smut Labs news.
Go for it.
Okay, so Smutty Nose Brewery, no big deal, but my face is one of the first ones on that wall for completing a food challenge there. I ate like 2 pounds of fries, a pound and a half of hamburger, and yeah, no, it was awful, and I almost threw up. But your boy's face is on that brewery, Smutty Nose Brewing in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. My face, it's there. Anyways, they have what's called Smut Labs, which is like their experimental beers. This brewery's phenomenal. If you can get to Smutty Nose Brewery, go. And now They have what's called Smut Labs Brewery and Kitchen in Dover, New Hampshire, which was the town next to where I just lived. I'm dying inside. Anyways, they're it's closed. It has closed. They closed their Smut Labs in Dover. The brewery's still open, but this location opened right before COVID, and they just got hammered with the impacts. And really, Dover isn't the best place to open up a brewery. There's one there called Garrison Brewworks, and it's not a bad spot. But when you're talking about nightlife, a lot of everybody goes to Portsmouth. There's not a whole lot of nightlife in New Hampshire. It's Portsmouth, and that's it as far as New Hampshire goes. So it kind of sucks to see that they had to close the Smut Labs location down. But dear God, they still do the Smut Labs. The tour is a fantastic tour. You get to they have a little bar inside there when you do their tour and you go through all the fermenters and stuff. They actually have a bar that's there and built, and you can just sit
Oh,
there and
that's
drink.
cool.
You can just drink and you can get your beers, and it's a very good tour. All their grains and stuff go back to local farms, and that farm that plot of land that they own was actually one of the first farms in New Hampshire as well. So
That's really cool. They're a pretty big brewery.
yeah, no, they're big time, and their beer is amazing.
Yeah. So my other piece of news is Odell Brewing has been using nitrogen on some of their beers because of the carbon dioxide shortage. Unfortunately, they said they're still struggling more
Oh
now than ever
no.
with the price hikes and shortages. But it's nice to see, some breweries coming up with creative ways to
Oh
deal with
yeah.
all that shit.
I mean, it's big. It's huge, so it's kind of cool.
And I think that's it for the news. Let me
Oh, okay.
scroll up, make sure I got everything. Oh, no, I didn't. There's still more.
We have a couple. Yeah, so
Yeah, not too
Brewdog
much.
Brewdog USA is going to be joining forces with one of the most legendary sagas of all time. Lord of the Rings, baby! They're going to release a limited edition IPA to rule them all. Brewdog Fellowship IPA in partnership with Warner Brothers. To see if it's in a specific state, go ahead and go to brewdog.com and find it there. Of course, it's not going to be in Idaho, but Lauren, if you happen to see this on the shelves, just saying, I already owe you for the beers you got today, but if you find one beer to rule them all, you know what to do. You got to drink
I
one.
did. Yeah. I'm not going to drink one.
Okay, well, I'll do
I
it for
don't
the
like
show.
Brewdog and I don't like Lord of the Rings, but I
Oh,
understand
yeah, I'm just
if
drinking it for the name
somebody
at that
likes Lord
point.
of the Rings. All right,
Well,
joining forces with California Polytech. Are you still talking about Lord of the
no,
Rings?
I was just going to say before we go ahead and wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, because we are going to be going live on our Facebook page for Hops Geek News at 7:05. That's 9:05 Eastern time for all you other nerds. So go ahead. Sorry.
Joining forces with California Polytechnic University, Firestone Walker Brewing has released its first university branded beer ever. The brewery and the school have many connections, and the beer will be available in the area and at sporting events. I'm loving
That's
that.
cool.
Every college team up, I love.
That's
And it's so smart. Get the kids hooked on good beer young.
yeah. I
The-
mean, because in college you're mostly drinking macro brews and shitty beers because that's all you can afford, right? So it's let's get them hooked on the good stuff. This is a gateway drug.
All right, so this is going to be my last piece of news with the Brooklyn Brewery because I thought this was really interesting. So, some of these are quotes from the article. It was on Yahoo. If you are interested in learning more about it, you just go to yahoo.com news and put in Brooklyn Brewery. You should find it. So today, global market craft beer innovator Brooklyn Brewery. They announced that they're doing a launch with the brewery and Yolele Fonio white beer.
That's a
It's a
mouthful.
distinctive and delicious craft beer brewed with fonio. I had never heard of that. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It's actually a super like food, and it's nutritious ancient West African grain that it says that purpose-driven food business Yoleli has helped bring to the American masses. The limited release of the beer combines the Fonio's nutty, weedy character with juicy hops and a beautifully smooth and refreshing riff on a classic white beer. It's 5.6%, and it's going to be showing up in select Whole
Nice.
Foods in their market, which is probably near Brooklyn Brewery.
Yeah.
Throughout October. It said actually throughout the Northeast throughout October. It will also be available to all beer enthusiasts and sustainability minded customers in Brooklyn Brewery's tasting room.
I'm from
So,
Brewery King.
Fonio, the grain, is apparently a much better brewing ingredient environmentally
Yeah.
than other grains like wheat or barley, and it's also healthier. So, just with droughts and everything. Just having something that's more sustainable could even cost efficient
Yeah,
help
I mean,
the brewing industry. And if it's healthier too, you got to get your vitamins somehow.
that's true. Well, I know we have a couple other things, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up because we are going to be going live on Geeks and all that good stuff. And plus, we don't want to bore you too much. We have more news next week. Next week, like we talked about, is going to be us judging beers. So if you want to hang out with us,
Woo.
judge beers, let us know. We'll be here live again next week. This will be podcast should be live here soon up on all. You can pretty much go to Hops News on any podcasting platform. Go to Hops News on any single social media site that you may have out there. We are there. And yeah, just follow the podcast, follow along. We're doing a lot of great things, and we're going to be hopefully recording episodes again more regularly. Like I said, life has kind of gotten in the way, understandably so.
Well, and I think
haha.
two of the beers that I got you, that I got myself, that we'll be judging next week, if you want to judge with us, will be North Coast Rasputin and Kugel Summer Shandy. So those are two
Yeah.
very different beers. I don't know what else we're gonna brew because some of them it's Blue Moons on there and other random things, PBRs on there.
Look,
But
we got a whole
those will be
hour.
two that we will do. Yeah, it doesn't mean we're drinking the whole beer, but those will be two that we'll definitely do on air if you want to taste and judge along with us.
Right. So thanks again for hanging out with us, guys. We will see you next week. Until then, I'm Matt. This is Lauren. Cheers.
I'm Lauren.